Hey everybody. I'm going to assume if you're back for episode 2, then you want more casual rambling about TD stuff. So, welcome back. This time we're going to talk about lighting design. And this one's a 2-part episode, so you have to come back next week for the rest. So where do we start with lighting design? Lighting design is hard. Fundamentally, it's probably one of the most challenging art forms that exists. In a lot of ways, it's similar to music composition, especially in the sort of way we experience the end product. Like you could spend hours describing your favorite song to me, but at the end of the day, I still haven't heard it. I haven't experienced that emotional sympathy that we have with music. That's sort of a well-known thing, right? Music makes us feel things. Light's the same way, but it's a lot more subtle. And much the same way that classical composition is just mathematics creating those emotions, so is light. I should preface this with, this is just how I see it. A lot of people will give you a different take on it. Lighting textbooks vary wildly on what lighting is and how it works and how we approach it. I personally like to say it's a 2-part process. There's the poetry and there's the math. And they are so separate in process and thought, so distant and unrelated. And that's why I'm choosing to make 2 episodes. The first episode's about the poetic process of lighting design. The next episode, we'll discuss sort of the concrete facts, the physical, real parts of it. So get ready, we're kind of going out there on this one. So lighting has the basic task of creating mood. That sounds simple until you start to ask yourself, what is mood? In my opinion, mood is sort of a multi-part phenomenon. The first and main contributing factor to it is atmosphere. Not the gases surrounding the earth, but like the feeling of a room. And every place at every time has atmosphere. The primary element of atmosphere is light. Music can help add atmosphere, smells can add to it, nostalgia can be part of it. But that same music and smell and nostalgia in the same place under different lighting is a very different atmosphere. Even think about your house, early morning, breakfast time in the kitchen, and then midnight at the fridge looking for stuff. Those feel very different. The room itself feels very different. So a place has its own atmosphere. And when we're in it, we experience mood. Not because the place has mood, but because we filter that atmosphere through our emotions in that second that we're experiencing the room. Don't worry, we're going to unpack that. So, famous designer Josef Svoboda. I don't have his famous quote in front of me right now because I'm super prepared for this. But basically, he points out that the same room with the same conditions should feel the same, right? But the room where a wedding takes place feels fundamentally different than the room where a murder takes place. Even if it's the same room, same time of day, same everything. This is an extreme example for a reason. Because it's not atmosphere affecting our experience in this example, it's mood. Atmosphere is the room, its lighting, its decor, all the physical stuff. The mood comes from the wedding or the murder, the sentimentality or the fear. The atmosphere is filtered by the emotional experience, and that creates the mood. Let's do a slightly more detailed example to kind of explore this a little further. So let's say there's a couple and they're strolling through the woods. It's a beautiful spring day, sunlight through the branches, generally your perfect afternoon. And halfway through the woods on their walk, they start to argue and they break up. So let's follow this poor guy as he walks back along the path that he followed to get here. It's still a gorgeous spring afternoon, but it no longer seems that way to him. He's not going to remember it that way. Everything is different in our memory because we filter the atmosphere through our emotions. The beautiful afternoon in the woods filtered through heartbreak in this case. He creates that mood. Someone else walking past him on that trail could still be having that perfect spring afternoon that he started his walk with. this is an intangible thing, mood. But it's the actual medium of the lighting designer. This is what we work with. We take the given circumstances, the immutable truths of the script, in this case, wood, spring, afternoon, sunny day, and we determine what that looks like. That's pretty clear. But then we take the emotive experiences of the character in this play we've just created, and we filter that initial look through those emotive experiences so that the audience can see the world from that emoting character's point of view, and they can feel along with the character even stronger. This is not a big and overt thing that they're aware of. This is changing the atmosphere, the mood, subtly enough that it's like they felt it and their vision shifted, if that makes sense. So we have to determine who in a scene we should feel with, and then we should determine how to make that feeling take over and change the physical space. How do we manifest that mood outside the character's head? What does it look like? Every lighting design textbook fails at teaching this. Necessarily, you can't. It's the basic premise of lighting design, and you can't be taught how to do it. They all call it something different. J. Michael Gillette calls it incubation, which I kind of hate because of how passive that is. But what they all agree on is that in some capacity, you take that script into yourself and a design happens. And it's hard to explore that internal moment when it actually becomes a design. But no matter how you look at it, you have to internalize that emotional moment, or else you can't understand it enough to design it on stage. There's no other way to understand what it looks like. You have to be in that position and connect it to your own life and your own feelings so that you can see the world filtered by that mood. And then you can strip away the emotion that sort of clouds that memory, and you can focus on what your experience of the moment actually changed of the reality of the atmosphere that you saw in the world before things got darker or lighter or broken or textured or any other insufficient word for how our emotional memory colors our experiences. Considering what was the real atmosphere of the place, and then considering how our experience changed it into the mood. That's the first process of lighting design. That's gaining an understanding of the world of the play. And yes, when you create that moment on stage, you're very much putting yourself there. And it's hard and it's scary, and that's good design. You've taken that script into your chest somehow and been each of those people and figured out the detail of what their world looks like moment to moment from their experiences. And then you've taken the physical truths of the world, the given circumstances, the very real what, where, and when, and you've filtered it through those emotions you determined for those people. And in that way, you've made a truth for the show, emotional truth as mood on stage. And yeah, there's a problem there. Like, when I'm designing, it's only my truth, right? It's how I see the world through those emotional moments. But if it's true, then it can be real. Even if it's only my truth, people will believe and feel with it. It's the same as good acting. Be truthful. Say the words like they're real. Be in that moment, and we will believe you. Also, collaborate. If your truth is so far from the director's, it's probably not universal enough to be felt. You may have latched onto some little detail or your own personal baggage, and that's not truth. That's just a single example you're recreating. That's not enough. That process is the poetry side of lighting design. That's one half of the art form. The other half is the things we can touch and discuss and see on a more detailed level. The other half is optical physics. It's biology of the eye. The poetry is ethereal. The other half is corporeal. The how we take our perfect idea of the experience that we can see in our minds and physically manufacture it in the theatrical space. That's the other half. and that'll be our next episode, what I call the math of lighting design. So come back next week if you want more design rambles. Bye, everybody.